With their successes this week in the California primaries, Democrats are increasingly optimistic about their prospects for the midterm elections. But they should take note of the bigger picture when it comes to left-right politics these days. Over the last decade, the center-left has been destroyed electorally across the West. Unless Democrats face up to this reality and devise a strategy to reverse this tidal wave of defeat, they might find themselves surprised one more time this November. When you tally up their representation in Congress, state legislatures, and governorships, the Democrats almost have their lowest representation in about 100 years, according to political scientists. But they are not alone. Britain's David Miliband observed in 2011 that the year before, the Labour Party had received its second worst electoral result in a century. In Germany, in 2009, the once dominant Social Democrats had their worst showing since the Federal Republic was created in 1949. Things have changed a bit since 2011, though mostly for the worse. In France, for the establishment left, recent results have been worse than at any time since 1969. The situation is even more puzzling when you consider the backdrop. 10 years after the start of the worst economic recession since the Great Depression, a global financial crisis caused in large part by the recklessness of the private sector, the parties that have been punished are largely on the left, and those rewarded are largely on the right. Why? To answer this question, a group of scholars published an excellent book last fall titled Why the Left Loses. In her foreword, Sherry Berman, a professor at Barnard College, points to some answers. One factor is the nature of economic systems in the post-World War II era, with large unionized workforces, manufacturing sectors, regulated economies, and safety nets. This social market economy, prevalent even in the United States, was largely created by the left. Thus, Berman argues, when the whole system found itself threatened by globalization and information technology and then cracked by the financial crisis, it was the left that found itself most at a loss as to how to respond politically. Leftists damaged themselves further, in my view, by immediately turning on themselves, with many claiming they should never have embraced markets in the first place. It's worth noting that the so-called neoliberals, free traders such as Bill Clinton, Tony Blair, Gerhard Schroeder, actually won election after election after election, and it is their left-wing successors who keep losing. Another factor Berman cites is more directly ideological, and I think here the left confronts its greatest challenge. Throughout the world, politics has shifted from core issues of economics to those of identity. Perhaps this is because of the rise of a mass middle class. Perhaps it is because the left and right do not have dramatically different programs, certainly compared with 50 years ago when many on the left wanted to nationalize industries and many on the right wanted no social safety net at all. But for whatever reason, people today are moved by issues of race, religion, ethnicity, gender, identity. And on those issues, the left faces a dilemma. It cannot celebrate identity and diversity without triggering a backlash among the older, whiter population. Berman summed up the larger challenge to me in a conversation. The left has always been about a hopeful vision of the future, one in which everyone prospers. But when a large part of the public is fearful and pessimistic and nostalgic for a world gone by, offering hope becomes a hard sell.